Movement. Movement means so many things to me actually. Movement is basically for me.
Why movement? Because
As much as I remember, as long as I remember, I've been moving. And I think it is something to do with finding a deeper connect with the self. For me personally, movement is really understanding myself and my feelings and my emotions. And it's a language, which means that as communities and as people, when we get together and we move together, there's a language that we are speaking with each other, which goes beyond words, and that transcendental quality that movement has. It's therapeutic, it's joy evoking, it is something that heals us and frees us both.
I think movement is something that I maybe have discovered a little bit more recently in life.
Extremely getting connected to yourself, and that is how I express. I feel like it's a language where I literally go into myself and express all my emotions through movement. So it's a very cathartic experience for me.
Dance, when I learned growing up, was very, very structured and very sort of regimented in some ways. And I think it's only like in the last year or so when I've been here at Flux that I've started seeing movement as a way to express myself, because I think otherwise I've not looked at movement as a way of expression.
The flux for me is like homecoming. It just feels home. Every cell in my body, every nucleus feels like so happy, satisfied. This is the place where I always wanted to exist, and I waited for this for 10 years. I guess I'm very happy Sahiba created this place, and I want to be part of this for a longer term, either ways.
The production process is a very creative process for everybody who's involved in the production. So, how it usually works is that I get people together who are part of the Excellence program, who have trained in contemporary technique for about 6 to 8 months, to get together and start devising a certain theme or a process. I usually have a theme in mind. So, like my last production was around mental health, the one before that was about wild woman archetype. This particular one, Stories We Tell Ourselves, is about finding nuanced, complex, ambiguous, entangled, intersectional emotions within ourselves that come up, stay within us, get released out of us through the lens of an intimate relationship. So this is very specific to romantic relationships or intimate relationships, because we've all gone through grief, we have all gone through confusion, we have all gone through heartbreak, things left unsaid, not finding closure, love lost, love gained in our own ways. So the feeling is something that we all resonate with, and that's a common thread that runs through all of us, I feel. It's a very, very simple concept this time, and the process in itself, the process of production, is where we get into building original narrative. So we get together, we discuss the main theme, we put our emotions out there, then pick up our emotions and work with it from a physical motive and movement perspective as to how can we identify and talk about this from a physical space, and then we do some bit of creative writing, and then we put the theatrical scenes and the movement scenes together, which is what is the dance theatre format of all these productions. it's creating a certain kind of an expansion for everybody, in their hearts. I feel where when we are addressing the complexity of our emotions, we are gaining clarity through that.
This is my 4th production with Sahiba, and every time it's been this journey of chaos to confusion to then sort of straightening out the lines and going into a catharsis. There's this whole process that we go through, and that is what mostly comes out in the productions also that Sahiba does. There's always a definitive circle, or coming back to equilibrium quality that her productions have, and that is kind of not just here on the floor, but you kind of take it home also with you. This whole process of going through what you sort of examining what you are going through and understanding it, flowing through it, and then finally reaching a sort of catharsis and equilibrium. So it's always a nice experience working with Sahiba like that. As a storyteller, we kind of put together these things and make sense of it. We find the connections between all of these pieces. We find the similarities between all of these pieces. What do people have in common that collide with each other that we can, sort of connect and bring into the piece? What are extreme opposites that we can use as extreme opposites that we can bring into the piece? So by the end of the production, it is this beautiful exercise of connecting everything, and a story emerges. Unlike maybe a traditional film where you have a story and actors are learning it, this works the other way. It is entirely collaborative, and there's so much heart in it because of that. People are creating. The cast is not just cast, they're also the creators of the production. So that's a different level of commitment you have to a show like that.
Production for me, like, it's my 3rd production, right? And I feel with every production I've evolved as a human being. Like, everything had something about me that has stayed with me during those hours. And for me, this one is extremely close because it's literally about something so personal, like relationships, love, closure. And I think I'm narrating a lot, and there is a lot of healing happening inside me because of this. There's a lot of release happening. There is a lot of connectedness between us, right? Like how we are also forming bonds and relationships here with each other. When I think even if you're falling, we have each other's back. We are rising together. So that's something very, very important for me as a core value.
Feel like it's been such an interesting way to process emotions, and actually a very intuitive way, because emotions actually reside in your body, right? Like, I think something that I recognized is that, when you're upset or you're trying to process something, you'll often feel it like in your chest or in your throat or in your stomach, but I try to process it through my brain, and I try to process it by speaking. And here I think I've had the space to process it with my body and by moving and by exploring a story or a narrative.
So this process of going through the production is really, it's a huge learning experience, I guess, in learning how to get into the character, basically. At one point, you are no longer yourself, you're only the character. And only when you get into that space, you can really fully project on the stage the story you're trying to tell. If you are yourself trying to act as someone else, it doesn't work. You have to let go of your story and take that story of the character or the feeling that you have in that moment, and then it will really shine through, because you are actually feeling those feelings through your body.
I feel like the process of expressive arts, general expression, putting our emotions out there, telling stories, being creative, getting together as communities and creating something is not an addition to life. I truly believe that is what life is. And we are caught up with so much more, such more difficult things, I would say. Like, I don't know, waking up every day, going to work and doing things that we don't want to do is something that we do all the time. And I think if we can do that, then we are quite equipped to do this. This is something that comes very naturally to us. Telling stories, being expressive. But having said that, why is creativity or expression important? There are so many reasons for it, and one that really tops the list for me is that we can't hold our emotions inside of us. It's going to implode at one point or time or the other, and that's why we are seeing this mental health crisis in the world at this point. At the same time, we can't just throw it out in an unaware way where we are constantly raging, or we are angry, or we are bleeding on people that we're not supposed to. And I think it is important that we find a creative outlet in a safe environment with a loving community that comes together and creates something that starts a dialogue that makes them also express something. And when we talk about dance and theatre, and when I work with dance and theatre particularly, what we are doing is we are combining the mind and the body. And the whole idea of the movement of the body itself and the exploration of the somatic being, the body that we are, with the stories that our mind has or tells us, and combining the two and putting it out there in such a vulnerable, courageous way is extremely therapeutic. It's extremely self-compassion driven, and anything arising from a space of self-compassion extends compassion towards the larger community, at large. And my idea with Flux also is to create art for change. I believe that I'm much younger in my choreography career, but as time goes on, I'm going to make more and more evocative art, because I do believe that art is meant to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Not for the heck of it, not in the sense of like just unnecessarily sort of rebelling or saying something, but really assessing systemic oppression or anything where there is lack of accessibility, because of gender disparity or class disparity, to make this expression, this creativity and this art accessible to all, from the performer's perspective as well as the watcher's perspective, and integrate that in our lives, will make our lives a lot more meaningful, will make the communities that we are a part of work towards something which is a lot more meaningful, a lot more purpose driven, a lot more wholesome and soul fulfilling. And I think every time I do these productions, I see a greater change, a greater expansion in the performers and the conversations that follow after with the community members, with the audience members. And it is very heartwarming. I think that is the motivator for me to actually do this, because I'm actively seeing that change, even if it's a small change. And I always say, even if my change is a small speck in the larger scheme of things, it's something that I can do, and because I can do, I would like to do it.
So Flux for me is literally the light at the end of the tunnel. I found Flux in a very magical hallelujah moment, quite literally. That was the first video that I saw, and I think it has been hallelujah for me throughout. This is home. I can't imagine my life without Flux anymore, I feel. And anything happens, I know that I have this space to come back to and just be there. And I think Sahiba has been an immense, I'm so grateful for Sahiba and the whole community that she has created through Flux, because it really connects here, right? And sometimes I don't have to talk, I still connect with people. Sometimes through words, and I think through production also, like the stories, that sometimes it's through movement we are expressing those words, right? It need not to be like a communicative through language, but this can be a language for it. And dance is something that does that to me. And Flux has been that core to give this to me. So I'll be forever grateful to Flux for this. And yeah, it's just magic. It has brought me closer to my body, my home, my being, my tribe. And yeah, I wish Flux just grows and grows and grows and lights up.
The ability to just go ahead and do something in life, that confidence really comes from stage. there is a certain vulnerability that you put yourself through when you are on stage and you perform your art. You are literally putting your soul into it, saying, this is me, this is what I'm doing for you, and you are watching me. So you are teaching yourself to be vulnerable, to express. It might be in any form, but you are teaching yourself to express and be judged, be seen by people. And if you get comfortable with that space, I feel like there's a lot more that you can get comfortable with life. You can be yourself. It helps you in being yourself and not really hiding yourself.
Yes, the body is sore sometimes. I have like a writer's block and all of that, but it's all part of the creative process, and that is really why I do all of this anyway. So, yeah, body, mind, that connection, authenticity, vulnerability, courage, healing, evocative art, making the comfortable feel a little disturbed, making the disturbed feel a lot comfortable is why I do this, and I'll continue to do this with a lot more wisdom as the years progress.